Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to be talking to you about getting your new dog. So as you can see here, we are now 3 little humps here. So we've just got, we just rescued a new dog 3.5 weeks ago. And so I've been concentrating really intensely on getting him settled in and making sure that the foundations are right for him and my little family, which is my 2 other dogs here. And it's, you know, there's been ups, there's been downs. It's been a difficult at times and just flowed at other times. So he's from Korea, so he's come with particularly difficult, from a particularly difficult situation, some difficult behavioural, there's some injuries there, all sorts of things going on. But it's all going really, really well, and I'm really, really pleased with how it's all going. And there has been some rules that I've had to stick to. There's been different things that I've done. There's been stuff that I've put in place from the very first day and haven't changed them so that he's got security. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through everything today that I've put in place to, oh, I keep falling down holes. I'm just going to go through everything that I've put in place to keep harmony and to get him really, really settled, really happily, and to also all really important is to keep my other boys happy, and so that they're happy to have a new dog. Now this will obviously at the moment it all applies to a rescue dog, an adult rescue dog. So Humps is 5, but although I suspect he's a lot older than that, but anyway, we'll deal with that later on down the road. But this will obviously is what I've done is with an older dog, but it will all still apply to a puppy. Absolutely all apply to a puppy. Something particularly gorgeous and smelly is in there that they all want to sniff. So I'll just go through everything with you bit by bit and tell you how I did it. I'll see you when we get home. Good nutrition. Make sure that your dog is being fed good food. If you're feeding him food that just turns to sugar, it's just full of cereals and all the rubbish, that is going to affect how he feels. It's going to affect how he feels. It's going to affect how he acts. So you need to make sure that you are feeding your dog really, really good nutrition. It's such a vital, important part to his behaviour and to how he feels. I've done a whole video about what I feed my dog and how to understand dog food ingredients, and it's incredible how many people just feed their dog food that's just absolutely full of crap that just is going to make them feel so bad, and it's not going to help behaviour. And so go and watch those videos. I've really gone into them in detail, so go and watch them and just make sure that you're feeding your dog really good quality food. Right, toys are, I think, really important, because when a dog can play with toys, they can release anxiety that way. And that's not just me going on. That's been proven that if a dog plays, then they can release anxiety. Now, I can't actually play with Humps, as in throwing balls and stuff, because of how bad his back legs are. But there are toys all over the place, and I'm just leaving them out, and they can freestyle with them. And he's chewing them, as you can see there, and he loves his toys. And toys definitely do release anxiety in dogs. It gives them something to do. It keeps them entertained, and it also means that if they are feeling anxious about their environment and what's happening to them, it can completely distract them. And that is so important, that if you can distract them from feeling anxious, and also it means they have good associations. So when they are chewing toys, that sets off a part of their brain that is the same as when they're sucking the milk on their mum. And so any time they can feel something, so whether it's excitement or relaxed or whatever, but a really, really good sensation when they're in their new house, that's really, really good, because that's going to mean that they're going to feel safe and it's a place that they want to be. And so I would really, really recommend that you get your dog toys. Not that they're lasting very long in this house. Look how he's destroying that. And obviously, stick to the rules with toys and stuff. Make sure that then they're supervised and they're not going to swallow too much of the toy and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely would recommend having toys as a release for your new dog. Right, exercise, absolutely vital for any dog, because not only does it sort them out physically, keeps them in good shape, But mentally, it really, so it drains them, it releases anxiety. And remember, when you walk your dog, it's not just walking that you're doing. There's an awful lot of sniffing going on, there's some socialisation going on. Remember, every time a dog sniffs, they're actually reading what other dogs have been around. And it's incredible what they can know from that. They can know age, sex, all sorts of stuff. And so it's never just a walk, it's so much more for them, and it's so vital. And then you have got the actual exercise aspect of it, which will drain them of excess energy. Excess energy in a house is going to cause nothing but problems. So you need to drain them of excess energy so that they're nice and tired, and then they're nice and relaxed, and then they feel nice and safe. I personally would recommend that getting your dog out for the walk when you first get them is one of the first things you do. Now I'm going to go into another video about the actual first introduction of all my dogs together, and I'll go through that. But I think the first thing that you need to do is make sure your dog is exercised and emptied before you take them into your house. Not a long walk, but you do definitely want to make sure that they're exercised and emptied before you take them into the house, and you'll just be starting yourself off on a good foundation. And then I recommend that you do at least a 40-minute walk every day with your dog. So I walk my dogs for 40 minutes in the morning, and that's a mix of walking and just sitting around watching the world go by. So in total, we're probably out for about an hour in the mornings, and then that's a mix of walking, watching the world go by. And you've also got to be aware of your dogs. I mean, Hump's here, he's got a really bad back leg. The vets are dealing with it, it's all being dealt with, but it's a really bad back leg that no one really seems to know completely what's wrong with it. I'm figuring it's just, you know, being cooped up in Korea and stuff like that. And it definitely is getting better, but you can see there he's lifting it. Then we've got Albert up the front there, he's 9. And so you just got to be aware of different dogs' ages and stuff. Don't be taking an old dog for a 40-minute walk, or an injured dog for a 40-minute walk. That's just cruel, don't do that. Take them outside though, but you know, let them have some time sitting down, watching the world go by. And even if your dog's really old, and they can't really walk, you still take them outside, get them out. I don't mean out in your garden, I mean outside into society for some time of the day, and give them, you know, imagine if you were just cooped up in your house all the time. So exercise. There we go, Pickle doing the roll. Should we go and see Harry doing a roll? He loves to have a roll, this dog. Having a good old roll there. You've got to watch not rolling in poo, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't. So yeah, exercise, can't go on about that enough, absolutely vital. And if, you know, I often get contacted by people with dog problems, and you can bet your life a lot of it is because the dog wasn't walked. Right, so exercise, that was my next tip. Right, the next thing is their spot. So when we knew Humps was coming to us, I got a nice big bed for him, loads of blankets and cushions in it. It was really cozy and lovely, and I found a spot in the house that was away from everybody else, well, with us but away, in a sort of enclosed bit of an area. I thought it was the perfect spot, not to mention that there's all the other dog beds all over the house. But he chose his own spot, and this is often what a dog will do. And where he's sleeping now is the spot he chose from the very first moment he came in the house, and it's never changed. And the first day we were here with him, and he was lying on this rug, but the bed wasn't there, it was just the rug. And he was lying there, and I just thought it was because he wanted to see what was going on. And then I figured that as the day went on, he'd pick a spot that he would sleep in. But he didn't. He stayed exactly in that spot. And I've always thought it was a strange spot because it's right in the middle of the sitting room. It's, you know, you can walk through our sitting room to get out into the garden. So it's just a busy place. And, well, it's not a busy place, but, you know, for our house, it's the busiest place. And he just chose to lie right in the middle of it. And that never changed. And then, so, like, the next day, that night, he slept downstairs still in this spot. He didn't come up with us. He just slept downstairs in the same spot. And all the next day, he slept in the same spot. So I figured, okay, he's not going to move. This is his spot. So I made him this really nice bed here, and that's been his spot ever since. We've had him 3.5 weeks now, and he hasn't moved. Now, that's okay. It's not the most convenient place to have his bed, admittedly, right in the middle of the sitting room, but I've got no problem with it, and I'm not going to change it. And as long as he wants that to be his bed, it can be his bed. And if we try to force him, well, I would never have forced him to do anything, but you know, if we'd sort of insisted that he use the other bed, it just would have caused, you know, why do that? Why cause any extra aggro to any of it when there's no need to? If that's the spot he's chose, that he feels safe there, then fine, absolutely let him have that spot. So I would still recommend that you make a nice spot. You think about where his bed's going to be, and if you've already got dogs, then get him his own bed. Let him have his own bed, and maybe his own space a bit away from the other dogs or whatever. But and if that works, then that's cracking, great. But if it doesn't, and he picks another spot, but be aware, you know, because I mean, there was no bed where he was just sleeping on the rug for a day or two. But just be aware of where is he most of the time, and then put something more comfortable there and see if that's where he wants to be. And I think, as with anything, you know, with dogs, you got to be flexible about things. Yeah, sure, it's not the nicest, it's not the best place for him to have his bed. It's not the prettiest place for him to have his bed. It's, you know, he's got his toys there as well. Look, it's all a bit messy. And his water bowl, you can see there. But it's what works for him. And so I've got no problem with that. And that is a real thing with dogs in general, whether you're rescuing dogs, puppies, whatever. Compromise. There is so much compromise just to make life easier for you and for the dogs. So that is the thing that I wanted to mention. Was let them choose their spot and work with that, wherever that spot may be. Choose the spot and work with it. Right, the next thing is to decide, before your dog gets to you, which rooms he can and cannot go in, and which parts of the garden he can and cannot go in. Now, when we first moved here, I was of the belief that dogs could go wherever they wanted to go. I soon learnt that did not work for some of our plants. So if you'd like to come with me, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So our garden is mostly hard standing. And then we have a planted area over here, which is like our little jungle area. And they used to let the boys go in there to piddle. But let me show you why we stopped. We stopped doing that because we discovered that the kind of plants that we were planting in there really couldn't handle dogs piddling on them. And this is their fate. So I took them out of the ground, put them in the pots, really looked after them. But they are dead as dead. So really be aware of that if you've got some plants, they really can't handle dogs peeing on them. So we are now in Piddle Alley. So let me take you back to the back door and you can get a better idea of where we're talking about. So there's Humps there, bless his little heart. So this is the back door. So I'm quite happy for them to piddle anywhere in this area because it's hard standing and we can easily wash it down. I don't really like them piddling up there in the barbecue area. I've got a barrier there across if I needed it, but luckily nobody's picking that as their place to piddle. Now this is Piddle Alley down here. This is where they all piddle, and it's brilliant because it means I can just, a bucket of soapy water. We're on a hosepipe ban at the moment, but when we're not, I just get a bottle of like some kind of detergent, disinfectant, something like that, and just hose it all down, because otherwise the smell of urine is quite strong, especially in the summer if it doesn't rain. Now where we don't want them to, so they can piddle all up this bit, I don't mind that. I don't want them piddling in this bit because this is where the plants were, different kinds of plants, and they really completely killed some really nice plants. So we had to completely stop that, and so we've put up this little fence here. If you can see that, it's just a little fence. It's quite decorative, it's quite nice, and none of them can get over it, and that's nice and clear that they're not allowed to piddle in there, and they're not allowed to piddle in there because I don't want them to destroy this tree. And I've also got some roses in this bit, and I don't want them to destroy them. So it's really important to be aware of how awful dog urine can be on some of your plants, and it's also to be really aware of making sure that where they do go, a couple of them are piddled up on our sofa, so I'm not sure how much longer that's going to last, but yeah, it's really worth being aware that some of your plants aren't going to take the dog peeing on them. But also, where they do pee, you need to be able to keep that really clean and washed, especially in the summer when it's not raining, because it can get a bit smelly. And I mean, my dogs go out on their walk, but they still do a lot of peeing at home. And so you just got to make sure that it's somewhere where you can keep things nice and clean. Right, the next thing is commands. Now, I actually hate the word commands when you're talking about dogs, but you know, it is the word that you probably recognise. Decide before you get a dog. So whether you've already got dogs or you haven't got dogs and this is your first dog, decide what your words are. So like, what are your words for going out to toilet? So my word for going out to toilet is, does anybody need to go for a piddle? And they know. So piddle is the word. You need to go out for a piddle. That's my word. I can't say all the other words because I'll start all kinds of stuff going off. But I have words for all different parts of the day. And I've been particularly aware with humps to make sure that I use those words. So if it's, say, time for... Well, I can't say any of the words. But if it is time for a particular thing, I make sure that I use the word more than I normally would. Be really clear about it. And, you know, if there's a family... And if you already have dogs, but you're not really that clear on your words, make sure you are all the same. Because not only will it give your dog clear direction of what's happening next, but it will add to him feeling safe. And that's really important. Right, so I want to talk to you next about routine. So, as regular viewers will know, this is actually Harry. This isn't our new one. This is Harry. Routine is absolutely everything to a dog. So you can't tell a dog what's going to be happening in the day, but you can only show them. And so when we got humps, I have a very strict routine with my dogs. And basically, I always have done with all my dogs because it's so important to them. But also because Albert, my other dog, he has autism. And so it's incredibly important that he really clearly knows what's happening. And so my routine was already there. So from that point of view of humps, we were really lucky because nothing had to change. He just had to learn the routine, which he has. He's learned it. He knows it. So when you get a dog, if you've got no dog, then be really, really clear about the routine that your dog's going to have. Write it down and make sure that it's stuck to. And your dog will learn that and it will really make him feel secure. And if you've already got dogs, but your routine's a bit all over the place, it's really worth putting one in place because it's not just really great for them, but it's really great for you. I mean, I have 3 dogs. You know, it's a lot of work, but because I keep everything to such a routine, I always know where I am. I never forget to do anything. Don't really have to think about it because it's just part of life now. And a routine is really, really important to a new dog. The other thing is that, so at the weekends, our routine goes off a bit. I mean, I still feed them at the same time, but walks, we will often take them out for the whole morning. Not walking like the whole morning, but, you know, we'll get out and about with the boys at the weekends. And so the weekends can be a bit different. And sometimes it's simple as we might have taken them out somewhere, but then I might be doing DIY. I do the DIY in the house, and I might be doing some DIY. And if I'm doing that, then they don't sleep. They come and, you know, they follow me around and watch what I'm doing, and so they won't get as much sleep those days. And I'm really aware that if they've had a day where they haven't had as much sleep, they can get a bit ratty and a bit grizzly, just like children. And so it's really important that if we do have a day where things are a bit off, which is usually Saturday, then on Sunday I make sure that they get their sleep, because putting sleep into that routine is really important. And if you watch a lot of my videos, you'll know that I record my videos while they're sleeping, and they always are asleep, don't they? They have their set times when they sleep. Sleep's so important to them. It really, really, just the same as it is with us, the same as it is with children. Dogs is like having, honestly, it's like having toddlers. It is like I've got 3 toddlers, and I have to, you know, sleep is important. But routine, really, really be down to every... I will do a video one day about my routine. And it's down to everything. It's when there's playtime, when he's training, when he's walking, feeding, sleeping, all sorts of things. And the thing is, I eat very regularly at the same times. for 2 reasons. I just like doing that. I think it's just a good way to do it. But also because it just works with them. I've got my strip routine, they've got their strip routine, and it all just works and it all just fits in and they know where they are. And there's no doubt about it, a dog that has got a routine and he knows where he is and he knows what's happening will definitely be happier and feel more secure. So I absolutely would recommend that you get your routine, but you get that sorted before your dog gets to you. So from the word go, he knows exactly where he is, and he will know what's going to happen next. And you think if he's been with you a few days and he's got no idea what's going to happen next, that's really going to make him feel a bit worried, if not very worried. But if he knows that, oh, we do this now, for the last 3 days or whatever, we've been doing this, we've been doing that. And with Humps now, we've had him 3.5 weeks. And I was very aware that over that time, for those weekends, we didn't take them out in the car somewhere and go out for the day or whatever. I didn't do any DIY. Every day was the same. And yeah, it was getting a bit boring, I have to admit. I think my other 2 boys were like, why aren't we going anywhere really good? But we just did the same sort of like walks that we do during the week every day. But Humps definitely has learned that routine and he knows what's happening next. He knows what, and there's no doubt about it. That definitely is going to make him feel more secure and safe here. So absolutely would definitely recommend a routine. Okay, so we're going to watch little Albert sleeping now while I talk about this next thing. I think without question, the most important thing that I've learnt during this little period is how important it is for me to very, very clearly be the pack leader. And included in that is my energy. I've got what could have been a very tricky situation here. I've got Albert here who has autism. So he displays a lot of symptoms, makes a lot of noises that normal dog, I don't like to say normal, but other dogs don't make. And so dogs have to get used to that. So Harry, our other dog, we've had Harry since he was tiny. And so he's always grown up with Albert. And he's got very used to Albert's different ways. And he's fine with it. But when we're out on walks and stuff, and if Albert, like autistic children make noises, well, Albert does that. And sometimes he spins around a little bit and stuff like that. And often other dogs won't like that at all. And as a dog, you can understand why they wouldn't. And so when we said that we would take Humps, it was because I could feel that he was a very relaxed energy. And also that he wouldn't have a problem with Albert. And on the day that the dogs all met, that was my absolute criteria for whether or not we would take Humps or whether he would have to go back. And it was how he acted to Albert. And you know what? He has never in the 3.5 weeks shown any sign of any aggression or any problems like that with Albert and his behaviours. Now, Albert doesn't understand personal space. He doesn't read dogs very well, and that can get him into a mess. And he doesn't understand personal space. And a couple of times he has got into Hump's personal space, and Humps has growled at him. But that is completely okay and completely natural. And it has taught Albert not to do that again, which I'm really pleased with, because I didn't know if he had the capability to understand that, but he has. So we had Albert with his autism, and so that's a really difficult situation. We've got Harry, who has come from our other dog, he came from the most awful situation. Now, he's completely fine now. He's a right confident little one now, honestly. No issues there with Harry at all. But I have to be aware that he came from very, very bad beginnings. And so he can be a little bit needy. So we've got that. And then we've got Humps over there, fast asleep. Who has come from... Oh, sorry, you're getting my fingers in the camera. He's come from Korea. And so there's all the horrors that he's lived through there. And then obviously having to come to the UK and, all of the travelling and everything there. And I was made very, very aware of the fact that he has been snapping at other dogs and resource guarding a lot. Now, as it happens, I've been so lucky because we haven't had any of the snapping or the resource guarding. But, so I've got 3 quite difficult situations. Not maybe with Harry so much, he's kind of okay now, but there's definitely with Albert and definitely with Humps. And I was very aware that if I got it wrong, and the aggression between the boys got too bad, Humps was going to have to go back, and that would have absolutely killed me to have to send him back. So I knew that I had to absolutely get it right. And without question, being a very, very firm, clear pack leader has done it. I know it has. And my energy every time. Now, with my other 2 dogs, I'm pack leader. I've done videos on this and I've talked about the importance of it. So I'm not going to go all through that today. But I have done a video on how to be a good pack leader. And there's a video, I can't remember what it's called, but it's talking about the energy. Make your dog behave with your energy or something like that. But if you go into my playlist, go to dog behaviours, it will be in there. Without question, being in charge and being the pack leader has not only made Humps feel safe, but it's also made my other 2 dogs know that I am in charge. I have this situation sorted. I'm saying that it's okay and that it's safe for Humps to be here and that you're safe to be around him. And therefore they've just settled in and they've accepted and go, oh, okay, fine, yeah, whatever. No, yeah, okay, great. And they have, and they've completely accepted him in. Now, they're not best buds or anything like that. There's no cuddling up or anything like that, which is absolutely fine. But there will be eventually. But if there isn't, there isn't. It doesn't matter. But they're all showing each other a real healthy amount of respect. And I'm putting that down to the fact that I won't have it any other way. I have said, I'm pack lead with this pack. I've said that Humps is very welcome in our house. And the other 2 boys have completely accepted it. And I won't tolerate any bad behaviour. And what has also come along with that, so in the beginning there were a few grumbles and there were a few growls, just at various different things while they all kind of learnt their way. But I was really clear about was anybody that grumbled or growled, I was on it. I'm very much in charge of the situation. And that's why I've disappeared off social media and YouTube for 3.5 weeks. Because I wanted to be on every single situation. I wanted to be there. And I always do this with any dogs I've got. Whether I'm working from home, whether I'm working away, whatever I'm doing, I've taken 3 weeks off work. 3 weeks of absolute dedication to getting that dog settled in, to getting them how they need to be. And now, if any situation arises, the timing could not be worse. Got new next door neighbours and they've got the builders in. And to add on top of that, yesterday they brought their new dog to work with them and who barked all day. The situation couldn't, it was hot, it was not great. But I was so proud of myself because they would not have known that we had dogs here. They would not have known that there was me and 3 dogs. Not one of these dogs barked. If there was any great big loud bash or crash or anything like that from the building, they would look at me, I would tell them it's okay, and they'd all just go back to sleep. I was really, really proud of myself because I really felt like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm nailing this. They're looking to me for guidance and security. So I would really go and watch that video if I was you, about being a pack leader and about using your energy with your dogs. Honestly, I can't tell you enough. I think, yeah, everything else I talked about in this video is really, really important and absolutely vital you put into place. But you've got to be the pack leader. If your dogs don't feel that you're in charge of this situation and you're leading the pack, somebody else in that pack is going to step up and deal with him. And this is the thing. If I hadn't been leading my pack, another dog in my pack would have been top dog. When Humps came along, that dog would have felt that it was his job to discipline him and to teach him right from wrong. And that is when aggression starts and dog fights start. But because my dogs know that I am in charge, I put things in place. They don't have to do anything else. All they got to do is just go and relax and be dogs. I am in charge. They know that I've been dealing with Humps. And if there is anything that he's done that I haven't liked, like growled at one of the dogs, or he came with it, and still does have terrible fear of men, especially men that walk downstairs. Really bad fear of it. And there were a few times when I just told my husband to back off because I thought he was going to get attacked. Properly baring his teeth, grabbed the lot. My dogs never reacted to that once. And that is because they knew that the second it happened, first, I anticipated it happening and I was I was around. But also, I immediately stepped in and I immediately dealt with Humps in a very kind, nice, gentle manner, but it was a very clear, this behaviour isn't allowed, you mustn't do that, there's no need, it's okay. And because of that, even though they had a dog in their house who was growling and barking, especially at their dad, they never reacted because they knew I was in charge and that I was dealing with the situation. Now, if that had happened and I couldn't be bothered to get off the sofa and go and deal with it, somebody would have had to step in and deal with that. And if I wasn't doing it, one of my dogs would have done it. That's the other thing. If you've got some dogs and you're not already the pack leader, and so your dogs deal with issues amongst themselves, don't then bring another dog in, because your dogs are going to be responsible for teaching that dog how to be, and that's just not fair, and you will end up with dog fights. So if you've already got dogs, or you don't have dogs and you're about to get a puppy, and you don't know how to be a pack leader, you need to learn, and you need to learn fast. And you need to make sure that you're capable of doing it. Because what I've learned over my time is not everybody is capable of being a pack leader. You've got to be on your game all the time. And you can't pretend to be a pack leader. You can't pretend to be in charge. Your dogs will know if you're not in charge, if you can't be bothered, they are going to know. But please go and watch that video, because I go into it in much more detail in there. And the energy one, that is vital. Really, really vital that your energy is great. And again, go and watch that video. So out of everything that I've had to do to get this to be where we're at, I would say making sure that I was clearly the pack leader was the most important thing in stopping there being any aggression amongst the dogs. Now, I don't know how the future's going to go. So we've had Humps 3.5 weeks, going great. I've managed to stop the problem with my husband walking up and down stairs. He can do that now freely. If Humps is deeply asleep and Rob walks into a room, Humps will still growl and bark. If he's already awake, there's no problem at all. But if he's asleep, he snaps straight into that, which is obviously going from memory. But then he realises it's okay, there's no problem, and then he's fine. And then he'll often run up to Rob for a cuddle. So we've still got issues. I'm wondering, as time progresses and he gets more confident, if more issues will emerge, which is often the case. You generally go through a honeymoon period of about 2 weeks with a dog where they behave impeccably, and then they feel more comfortable, and then bad behaviours can come out. Now, not actually anticipating anything with Humps, I think in the 3.5 weeks we've had him, my experience, I don't anticipate anything else coming out. I think he is a really, really nice dog. He's a really brave dog. He's been through an awful lot. And the other thing I will say is, if you are dealing with a rescue dog like we are, that's got issues, really it probably needs another video, because it's just so complicated and so much to it. But little step by little step. Don't rush anything. Don't be blasé about anything. Everything. Little step, little step, little step, little steps. And the other thing is, you are going to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. I made a cracking mistake the other day with him, and I was really pissed off with myself about it. And I really had to sit myself down and give myself a talk and be like, look, it went wrong. I'll have to tell you what it is now, because you're probably all wondering. I don't know, somewhere along the line on the communications with the beautiful, wonderful people that rescued Humps from Korea, the Dog Team UK, give a shout out to them. Somewhere along the lines, me and my husband got ourselves all mixed up, and we thought they said that he went out for a car ride twice a day to go for a walk. So to go for his walk, he got into a car, and then he went to a field for his walk. So when it came to putting him in the car, I wasn't even really thinking about it, because I thought, well, he's gone in the car twice a day, that's not going to be an issue. I knew that on the journey to us, which was quite long, he got very anxious. But I just thought that was because of a very long car journey and all of that. But I was of the opinion that he had gone in the car twice a day to a field, and that going in the car wasn't an issue. So, like I said, we left it sort of 3 weeks before we put him in the car. But then this weekend we thought, right, okay, let's get a bit more back to life now. Popped him in the car. So our dogs go in the back of the car, and it's still sort kitted out in the back of the car for them. And we had our car's quite big, and so there was a space there for Humps. So I just popped him in the back of the car with the other dogs, Didn't give it a second thought. As soon as I shut the door, he started shaking. Like I didn't know it was possible for a dog to shake that much. Absolutely shaking like I've never seen. So I got in the front. I wasn't driving, my husband was. I got in the front of the car and turned back. And I just could not believe how badly this dog was shaking. I just never seen anything like it. I was still quite surprised by it. I didn't know a dog could physically shake that much. So I jumped back out of the car, I got him out. I realised that somewhere along the line we'd made a mistake and that he did not go in a car every day and that the only time he'd gone into cars was when he was going, a big journey. And so he just associated cars as the most terrifying experience. So I put him in the front, down in the footwell with me. Now, I know that's not legal, but let me just reassure you, he was not in any way distracting my husband from driving. It was not jumping up. There was none of that. He was just sitting quietly in the footwell. Now, in the footwell, I could stroke him and make a fuss of him, talk to him. He could see me. And the shaking didn't stop immediately, but it definitely cut in half. And the panting reduced right down. So we changed where we were going. We were originally going to go to the lake because it's about a 10-minute drive. Changed our mind. We drove around the corner and we went off to this park. And we went to this park. And then we did that we're doing it every day this week. So every day this week for our morning walk, we're going into the car. He's going straight into the footwell with me. I'm not even attempting the back of the car at the moment. We're just doing the footwell. Still gets a little bit anxious, but much, much, much better. The shaking has stopped. That awful shaking has stopped. And so that's what we're working on now. That's, again, a whole other video, isn't it? Taking dogs in cars, and I will do that. But my point being that when you're having the conversations with the rescue centre, there's an awful lot going on. You've got to take in so much information. They've got to take in so much information from you. And I think wires can get crossed. So what I will say is that wasn't anybody's fault. That was nobody's fault. It was just a mistake. But I gave myself a really hard time about that for the rest of the day. Well, more than the rest of the day. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not fair on you. Don't do it. You will make mistakes. Things will go wrong. It might be down to the dog. It might be down to you. Things might go wrong. Don't give yourself a hard time with that. You will go backwards and forwards, a little bit backwards, a little bit forwards. It's just the way it is. Don't expect it to just do everything I said in the video and it all flow beautifully, because it hasn't been like that. And the other thing that I want to point out is I may have had dogs for years, all kinds, and when just dogs has just been my life for years. But it doesn't mean I didn't get scared about this situation. And it doesn't mean that I didn't have times in the evenings, sat in bed, and I didn't have times thinking, oh, what have I done? Because I have. And I have had a couple of times when I've just thought about the enormity of what we've taken on with Hums. Don't get me wrong, I have absolutely no regrets. No regrets at all. I love him dearly. But I had moments when I thought, you can't muck this up. This is huge. You can't muck this up. And there's two things I'd like you to take from that. Number one, don't feel scared if you think, what have I done? Whether that be a puppy or an adult dog. I forgot what the second thing was going to be now. Oh, it's gone. Completely gone out my head. Oh, please come back. It was important. No, it's gone. So sorry about that. It's cracking being my age. I tell you, words just go out my head. Anyway, so that is what I would like you to take from that is don't give yourself a hard time from that. Yeah, it's gone. It's completely gone out my head. All right, okay. So so that is everything that that I've been doing with Humps. I will keep you updated in his progress and talk to you more about it in the future and how things have gone. I'm also going to do some other videos. I'm going to do a video about the actual introduction of him to my dogs, because that's I haven't discussed that in this video, but the actual introduction of him to my dogs and how that has gone going forward, how we've worked with that and how that's worked, and as far as I can tell that's working great. So there will be that video. I will do a video about if you've got a puppy, because obviously you've got slightly different requirements there, feeding more, toilet training, all that. I will do a video on that. It's probably all you need, really. But if there's anything you think, no, hold on a minute, woman, can you do a video on this, or what about that? I don't know about this, or I don't know about that. Please pop it into comments, and I will do a video on that for you. And as always, any questions at all, pop them into comments. I'm on social media, Instagram and Twitter. It's all under Furry and Spoilt. Hashtag Furry and Spoilt, which I still forget to use. But, you know, who knows? One day I might remember. It's all there. So thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.